In this video, I'm going to show you the shading process that I use to shade my drawings. Now, before we get into the shading demonstration, we need to work on the basic shapes and proportions of our subject. We need to make sure that our shape is ready to be shaded. Now, this is just going to be a drawing of a simple sphere. So I have the shape of the sphere, which is of course just a circle, and I have the shape of the cast shadow, which is just a simple oval. But before we start the shading process, I highly suggest you check the video from the link above where I explain about light and dark elements, because you first need to know about them so that you can shade each part separately. First, let's determine the angle of the light source. Let's say top left, and imagine the planes that make up this form. The most important part is to separate the shadow family from the light family. The goal is to clearly communicate what is light and what is shadow. I like to first of all determine the line of termination, which is a divider of two families. A darker strip at the edge of the shadow. Of course, it is going to be curved. So for this drawing of a sphere, the light is coming from the upper left, which means that the lower right portion of the sphere will be in shadow. Now, once I have divided the light side of the sphere from the shadow side by drawing the terminator, I'm going to darken all of the shadow areas. So we have light coming from the upper left, which means that the upper left portion of the sphere is going to be in the light, with the lower right being in the shadow. But when the light comes down and hits the surface that the sphere is resting on, it bounces back up and throws some reflected light on the bottom of the sphere. This is reflected light. So fill in the shadow side with clean dark value. I always start with a flat value first, even if I see variations of value caused by plane changes and slider shadows. This reduces the complexity of shading and helps me to simplify the form at the beginning of the shading process. Next, I'm going to darken the core shadow. Now, on a sphere, the core shadow is usually a triangular shape of darker shadow. This core shadow shouldn't be the same all the way down the form. In the rounded belly part of the form, the core shadow will be thicker with a softer edge. So I'm going to just put the edge of the core shadow here, and I'm using very soft lines because on a curved object, all the shadow edges will be pretty soft. So once I have the shape of the core shadow, I'm going to darken the core shadow all with the same value. I can always go back and refine later, which you're going to see me do in just a few minutes, but right now I just want to separate the core shadow from the reflected light. The reflected light is lighter from the core shadow because of bounce light illuminating this area. Next, we're going to darken the cast shadow. Now, the cast shadow is the one area of the drawing where we're going to bring part of the shadow all the way to black. So let's switch to a different tip of the pencil with the overhand grip. So I'm going to darken this edge here. This shadow occurs when there's an interaction between two forms. This form blocks light from hitting the surface of the ground right here. It's called a cast shadow because it's cast by the form. When I draw the cast shadow shape, I use it to describe the shape of the object is being cast onto, not the object it's casting from. Here I'm drawing really dark, but I'm not using the full weight of the pencil. I just want to get it started. And then bearing down on the tip of the pencil, I'm going to darken this to the darkest value I get from this pencil. I'm still using a 6B graphite pencil here, so we can work our way up to the darkest value. Now you'll note that the edge of the cast shadow right underneath the sphere is pretty hard, but as the cast shadow gets farther from the sphere, that edge can soften. The area underneath this shape will get less bounce light, and so will be darker. That's an occlusion shadow. Keep the edge of this shadow shape sharp, and the edge going away very soft. We can always go back and refine these values. The cast shadow is hard edged right underneath the object, and depending on the light, the edge of the cast shadow can start to soften as it moves away from the object. Next, we're going to identify the point of center light. Now, the center light occurs when light comes down and hits the top left of the sphere. This is the point where the form faces directly to the light. This part of the sphere is going to be the brightest, and as the sphere slowly begins to turn away from the light, the sphere will become a little bit darker until of course we get to the terminator where it fully turns away from the light and goes to shadow. So the halftones appear as a gradation darkest near the core shadow and lightest at the center light because we're working on a round spherical shape obviously. So as I'm shading, I'm thinking about how these planes get lighter as they wrap around towards the center light. So to draw the center light, I'm going to start at the edge of the terminator, and it's not quite going to be a number 1 value, but it's pretty bright. And as I get closer and closer to the light source, I'm going to feather out my strokes to make a transition from darker value to a lighter value. So I switched to my HB pencil because I want really light strokes. With HB pencil, it's a little bit challenging because you need your strokes to be consistent and clean to have more realistic and three-dimensional feeling. Because HB pencil has less coverage on the paper comparing to a 6B pencil, so you have to be more patient and keep your strokes closer together and shade softly and control the pressure of your hand by shading with light close together lines. And as we approach the line of termination, this light gets more dim. So hopefully you can see this gradation here where the sphere is brightest at the upper left, and as we go towards the line of termination, it's a little more dim. The important rule is that the darkest light is still lighter than the lightest dark. So keep it in mind and try not to use the values of the shadow family for the light family. You don't want the shadows end up being just as light as the halftones. Now your goal at this stage is to maintain the division of light and shadow that we've worked so hard to accomplish. This is critical that all of the darkest values are only found on the shadow side, and our two brightest values are only found on the lit side of the form, so we want to keep the values that we've established so far. Finally, we get to the highlight. The highlight is going to be the moment where light comes down from the light source, hits the sphere, and is reflected directly into your eyes, and it's going to create this brightest spot on the sphere. The highlight is different from the center light, but sometimes appear to fall very close to the center light. Remember, the center light is the plane that faces the light, and the highlight is the plane that reflects the light relative to the position of the viewer. When the shadow is thin, the highlight will be very close to the center light. When the shadow is large, then the highlight will be farther from the center light, moving closer to the shadow. You can experiment it yourself with an object, probably a rounded one. Now, because the sphere is rounded, on the sphere itself we're not going to have any hard-edged shadows. So with the line of termination where the sphere goes from light into shadow, you can see it's not a hard edge. It's a little diffused. You can see the transition from the core shadow to the reflected light is even softer than the transition from the lit side of the sphere to the shadow side. So far we have a terminator, core shadow, reflected light, cast shadow, occlusion shadow, center light, halftones, and highlight. So at this stage we have all the values we needed to shade the sphere. Later in any drawing we can work on the plane changes within the shadows if they're really important, and we get much more specific about the values, which will be the topic of the next tutorial in this channel. But for now, I just showed a soft gradation to show the rounded form. Now of course it's a little rough, so as I said, we're going to refine it in order to really pull out the values. But to improve the sense of three-dimensionality even more, one thing you can do is darken the environment that the sphere is in. So I think it's super crucial to include the background because that is what makes our form pop. Putting value for the background makes your form look 3D and brings it to life. And as you're doing it, be sure to go back and forth and build up your strokes and your shading. I like to create some round curved strokes to guide the eyes to this form on the foreground. These circular strokes turn the drawing into a more dynamic atmosphere, and it gives the illusion of motion in the background. So strive for consistency and beautiful shading when it comes to doing your drawings. And I think we're done here. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked this tutorial. If you do, please let me know in the comments. And consider subscribing to my channel for more tutorials. Bye now.